Okay, let's get started. Again, if you're unable to attend, as long as you watch the recording and the form that I send you and you complete that, then you will get credit for being here. But I want to make sure that I respect the time that was allocated. So let's get started. So I know last week we started with Google Drive, right? The heart of Google Workspace. That's basically the house that is going to store all of your information. A lot of the topics are going to continue, right? So it's going to be a form of consistency to help you to retain this information. So when we're looking at Google Docs, in this particular case, we're looking at the very foundational things, like the things that you need in order for you to just do like the basic task. And the one thing like we did last week that I'm going to end in this particular session is the different phrases that this will align with to ensure that if you know how to do these things in this particular course, then you at least have the very beginner's mastery of Google Docs, okay? So when we are looking at Google Docs, we're really looking at the fact that we are exploring a word processor. And you see here, if you can type, you can use Docs. So if you have ever had experience with Microsoft Word, for instance, I know that I think it's called Pages on Apple. Although I'm an Apple user, I have never used any of the Apple products that are equivalent to Google and Microsoft. So I will be very transparent about that. But there are so many. So like when I first started teaching this type of class for Microsoft at the time, I think it was called like Open Space, Open Office, that's what it was. And they were another version similar to Microsoft Word, but really lacked a lot of the features. So it had a lot of the basic things. So the things that we're going to go over today, they have those basic things. When you start looking at the more advanced settings, that is where we start to see a difference between the different products. So I will say to you, there are some things that you can do in Word that you cannot do automatically in Google Docs, meaning that you have to have an additional tool in order for you to achieve those certain things. So they have to either be like a plugin or add-on. So that is one of the differences. So that's also why Microsoft Office is a paid subscription-based product, and Google Docs is not. Anyone can use Google Docs, right? So when you have your Gmail account, you have access to Google Docs automatically. So remember when we spoke about the benefits of Google is that it is cloud-based. So when you're cloud-based, that means that as long as you have the internet, you will have access to the documentations. If you are working with a colleague and you're traveling to Berlin and they're traveling to New York, and you still need to work on this project because when you see each other the next morning, you're going to be in the same city. So you have to immediately go into presentation mode. So you have to work on this tool and this project, although you are not in the same location. So you're sitting at the airport on the internet, on your company's hotspot. They're at the hotel and they're working on this as well. And as long as you both are on the internet, you're going to be able to work together and creating or editing or just collaborating on this document, giving each other feedback. So we're going to talk about some of those key components that you're going to be able to do when it comes to creating documents. All right. And then we're going to also look at just the fact that just the way that you're going to be able to just like be successful in achieving certain things as well. So we're going to look at the core features of Google Docs. which is going to help you to, build your confidence in creating professional documentations. And some of you might already have experience with creating certain documentations. I know that for most people, Google Docs and like Microsoft Word are typically not the pain point that most people have. It's usually other platforms. But Google Docs tends to be the one that most people have at least utilized. I know my niece, she's very familiar with Google Docs because that's what they used when they were down for the pandemic. So it is something that you have a lot more people that are just more exposed to that one. So what is Google Docs? Again, it's a cloud-based access, which means that we can edit and collaborate from any device. So you can have your iPad, there's an iPad version. You can go on your laptop. You can have the cheapest Chromebook, the most expensive Windows PC, or the top of the line Mac. You can have whatever device and you'll be able to access this tool. It is free, right? So this is the reason why I decided to emphasize in this particular workshop Google Workspace, because we have access to these free tools. And I don't want people to lose the opportunity to grow in their career because they don't have access to it. Because, other platforms, they do cost money. And some people don't have, I think it's like 40, is it $99? Like it's like $99 a year. And then they also have an option where you can pay every month. Everyone doesn't have that, right? It does auto save, so instantly it's going to save changes, and so that's going to also be something that I know when I was in college, that was a big fear. Many of us, we was always worried about losing that paper. Then you have the ability to integrate. So we're gonna see this in week 4, where we're gonna be able to start looking at how you can integrate all of these things within Google Drive and then collaborate and connect apps like Google Sheets to really enhance that productivity within that team and the collaboration with your coworkers as you're working on documentation at the same time. So there's a lot of really great things that it does. So we're going to look at the interface components, and then after this, I'm going to jump into an actual Google Doc so we can make sense of all of these different things. So when we're looking at the toolbar of your screen, and you're going to receive a folder right after this session, just like we did last time, and it has the lecture notes. So a lot of these terminologies, the definitions, you're going to find in that folder for week 2 with the recording as well. So the toolbar is going to give you access to like formatting your tools. And when we think about formatting, I want you to think of dressing it up, making it look pretty, right? So formatting has things to do with the fonts. So what is the font style, right? If you know what a font style is, we're talking about Times New Roman, Arial, Georgia, Poppins. Like there's thousands of font styles, and every platform is going to have a different number of styles. So if you like, there are some people who are like graphic designers, they pay for platforms where they can purchase different fonts that are not available in Google Docs or in any Microsoft products. So there are a lot of different fonts. You can change the size of it. You can add some styles that's going to help you to really make your document more efficient, right? So I'm going to show you 2 ways of how you can quote unquote format your document. I'm not going to tell you which one is the best one, but I am going to tell you what is going to be most productive. Okay, menu bar is going to house your main essential commands. So when we think about file, we're talking about opening up a new document. We want to edit, we want to insert, we want to provide the users with organized access, right? And so we're looking at those different features. The modes of operation, So it will always say that Google Docs offers two primary modes, which is going to be the editing mode and the suggesting mode, allowing users to create content and provide feedback. And that's going to allow you to have better collaborative efforts with your team. So we're going to look at creating. So before we jump into it, just some reminders. I mentioned this last week in week 1, but beginning by renaming your Google Doc immediately. So often people don't. And so it will still sometimes capture untitled or names, and then that's how it ends up being saved. So we do want to get into the habit of, if you're working on the 2025 annual report draft, change that name immediately. Click on the default title in the upper left corner, and then you're going to enter your chosen name, and then you just press enter. So that is how you will achieve doing that, right? And that's just going to help you with your organization so that it will allow you to stay organized and just knowing what you're actually working on. So let's do that now. So here's a document. We're not going to look at this document just yet. Let's go to file. So the other thing that I will say is, anytime someone sends you a document, this is just me, and I'm not going to say I am right and I'm not going to say I am wrong, but anytime you receive a document, you should go to file and make a copy, right? Now, there are going to be certain times this is not the best option, especially if you are anticipating on making changes in that copy version. Remember, the document is between you and your colleagues. So if they sent you a live document where they're commenting, they're giving feedback, and then you make a copy and you put your comments and feedback there, they're not going to be able to see that. You only want to make a copy if it's something that you have to edit, that you have to, kind of like really go through. You might make some changes, or if someone just says to you, make a copy, right? So a lot of times in this class, you're going to receive a document and you're going to have to just make a copy, because that is not a document that you're going to be able to edit, because when I send it to you, it's going to be sent to you as a just view only. Okay, so make a copy. Now you want to change the name of it. You can change the way that you want to change it, and then it's going to make a copy, and then it's going to just change right there. Let's go back here. So we go back to file. So file is where we're going to find all of the commands that is going to help us to start a new document. So if you're working in a document and you want to create a new document, you would just go to new, and it's going to ask you, do you want to start from a blank document or from a template? We're going to table this for later on, but now we're going to just start with document. Okay. So now you will see that I saved the document in the upper left-hand corner. And again, you can just double click into it, start typing. When you're finished, just press enter, and then it is going to save. Now, the other thing that I will say is, sometimes you can also, not sometimes, you can also open up a new Google Doc if you're in Google Drive. So if you go to the new button, you can also come here and say the same thing. I want to go to Google Docs, and it's going to open up Google Docs. So in this case, when you do it that way, it's not giving you, you're not starting from a template or a regular document. It's just taking you straight to a regular document. So we're going to close that out. So you see the two different ways. While you're in a document, you just go to new, and then you're able to create one. Or you go to Google Drive and hit the new, and then choose Google Docs. So that's how we can type. So now let's start typing, right? And I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and I'm not gonna zoom in. Oh, here it is. So I'm like, I know. Okay. So here we start typing, right? Put where you're from. If you have a pet, just put whatever name or whatever kind of pet you have, and then you can put a quote, right? So that is what we have typed. So most of you have probably gone to a document in Google Drive, I mean in Google Docs, and you have probably just typed something in there. Somebody probably told you to type a cover letter, you came here, and you probably didn't really know how to format it. So you just typed it the way that you know, you probably did the line spacing the way that you know, and that is it. And that is actually perfectly fine. If you can type, like that slide said, if you can type, then you can use Google Docs or even Microsoft Word. So I want to select, so taking your mouse, you want to select the text. And when we go to format, so remember we was talking about format is going to help you to make your document look pretty, right? You're changing the way that it's going to appear. So we can either go to format, but then we also are looking on the toolbar and we should see some spaces such as when yours might say Arial, it might say something different. But if you put your cursor over it, that's also going to tell you what it is. So these are your fonts. And remember I said when you drop down, like you're able to see a glimpse of their fonts, and then they say more fonts. Because like I said, there's more fonts. It's not just what we see right here. So you can choose the font that you really like. Okay. So I changed the font and I made it semi-bold. But if I want to, I don't want where I'm from, you can make it go back, and then you can change just that one to medium. Right? So it doesn't have to be everything. You can actually have a different font for every line. Right? Now this will not be ideal, but for whatever reason that you are creating this document, that will be, you will determine, and even your company will determine what that is. Right next to that, you're going to see the size, right? So the font size, so you can either press up, you can press down, or you can double click into the box, and then you can put an actual number in there. So if you don't see the number that you want, does not mean that you cannot have it. You have to just put it in manually. The next thing that we're going to look at, you probably have seen these before. These are the different emphasis. So we have bold, italic, and underline if you were to select that. So this made it even more bold. This is going to make it italic, and then this is going to make it underline. Okay. If you deselect all of that, it will take it back to the original state. The next thing is the font color, so the text color. And so here you're going to see the colors that are already predetermined. And if you put your cursor over it, it is going to tell you the name. So there are some places that you're going to see the colored number, and then other places you're going to see the name. So I know that I'm very familiar with color codes. So here you're going to see when you click on the plus sign, here is the code that I was referring to. So if you know a code and you can say, okay, let's just see. Right, so this was code. They call it red. No, how many numbers we need? We need 4. Okay, so this is EE 1234. Right. And so if you hover over the custom, you're gonna see the actual number. So the one that I said, and it says close to red. So it's trying to define it. Again, you can also put, so you can just choose one of the predetermined colors, or you can just do it the way that they have told you. Sometimes if you know, so like let's look at this. I just highlighted this burgundy that my name is listed over, and it was able to capture that. And that color is BE305A. That is the actual color. So there's a lot of different ways that you can like capture colors, and I just don't want to spend a lot of time there, but I think it's kind of cool because so many times people just think they can only choose or they only have to choose what they have access to. Highlighting, so if you wanted to highlight it like a regular highlighter, you would select it, and then the little pencil right next to it is your highlighter color. So you can choose a different color. It doesn't have to be, but it doesn't have to be yellow, but it could be any color that you want. So that's the basic format, right? Your text, which is your font, the size, the emphasis, the colors, and then the highlighting of the text. And this is how it ends up looking when you highlight it. So now when we go back to format and we come here, this is where we're gonna see a lot more. So this is where we saw the text. So everything that has to do with the text was the bold, italic, and now we're seeing options that we didn't see before. We didn't see a strike through, right? So if I wanted to make pet dog, select that, go to format, and I select strike through, now that's going to have a strike through, right? And then if you want to deselect something, right? And so now you just do that. So there's a lot of formats. So I would say you can always take your time to like look at that. We're going to look mostly today at text, paragraph styles, alignment, and line and paragraph spacing and bullets. So those are the ones that we're really going to focus on today. So I would definitely encourage you to review and just kind of like play around so you can see what else you're able to do. So this is the document that I'm just playing around in. The next thing I want to show you is if I wanted to change the line spacing. So I have those three, and these are called three different paragraphs because every time you press enter, that means that you are starting a new paragraph. Whether you even skip a line, that's still you start in a new paragraph. So I'm not sure if people know that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So go to line spacing. So we have here, you're going to see a little check and it says 1.15. And then we see another check, prevent single lines, which means prevent any like close lines together. So if we're looking at them right now, there's like a little space between each one of our paragraphs. So when we go back and I select them and I deselect that, right? Right now we're not seeing any changes because there's other things that we have to make sure that we have checked. So 1.15 is going to give you a little bit of spacing between your paragraphs. So you were to change it to single space, right? Now we see a little bit more spacing together, right? And I'm gonna just undo it. And these are the do and undos. So I'm gonna undo that so you can see, you see how that spacing changed. And then I'm gonna redo it. So it doesn't take away all of the spacing, but it does bring it together a little bit more. So that's what a single space is going to do. Now, a lot of times there is more spacing. And if you find that you're looking for that more spacing, always go to custom spacing. Make sure you write this down because I know that I don't think this is in the notes. So custom spacing, you're going to be able to make sure that there are no spacings before and there's no spacings after. I'm going to show you when you do have a spacing before and a spacing after, what that looks like. So this is a single space, but I'm going to add a 5-point space before and a 5-point space after. This means that a font that is the size of 5 points can fit there. And a font of 5 points can fit after each paragraph. So when I apply that, let's see how it differs. So you notice that when it's selected, you see like that blue cushion above and then that blue cushion below. That's the spacing after. That's the spacing before. Well, this is the spacing before, and this is the spacing after. Same thing between each one of these. So sometimes if you are working on a project, and you're just like you're just like, yo, Dad, like, why is it doing this? You can just double check and see. If you're just like, you keep typing it and it's just looking like that, that's what it's gonna do. It's gonna keep putting that space. Now, what I do want us to look at is, what if we don't press enter, but we just keep typing? So I do not feel like typing right now. So I'm going to just copy this, and we're going to see when we have a paragraph that just continues, does it break it? Do we end up having that same space? Okay, so here is our paragraph. And within our paragraph, as long as it's not us pressing enter, it is going to continue to look like a regular single line space. This is also helpful, like college students. You know, I've had students that will play around with the spacing to try to, because it'll be like, it needs to be 2 pages, and they'll try to play around with the spacing of the document so that it will spread it out to 2 pages, even though it's not really 2 pages. They forget I teach computers too, not just business and courses like that. So having that, and so like I said, so sometimes you have to just kind of like play around with it and figure out what is happening. So I'm going to put it back to 1.5, so 1.15, and I'm going to take off that spacing. So we're not going to have spacing before or after. Oh, and this one also has to have a number. Right, so now we just have our regular lines on 1.15 with no spacing before or after within this paragraph, but the rest of this is still under other formats. So anytime that, if you notice, I selected these 3 lines, and when you go back to format, you're not able to see what's happening. The reason is that they are all on different line spacing. If you have them all selected, that is, you're telling Google, I want to make the changes to these 3 paragraphs. So that is what you have to do. So now you have to start all over. So again, when you have them all selected, this one has, let's look, when you go to format, this one has 1.15. When you go here, single, right? So now we already know this is the reason why. So I'm going to select these 3, format. We want them all to be 1.15. And let's see if it has any custom spacing. It doesn't, which is fine. And now everything is 1.15. All right, so that is how we're going to work on that. Now, this document that I'm going to share with you, this is going to help us to go into other formatting that helps us to do things the right way, quote unquote, or do things the old-fashioned way. Let's put it that way. It was like we did it that way before we got these new features, right? Or the features that we were not really paying attention to because we were not really trained to use them at that capacity. Let's put it that way. So the first thing that I'm going to have you do, because I want you to make a copy of this, So we're gonna make a copy of this and that's the document that we're gonna work in. All right. So the first thing I want you to do is take out the word example because this is no longer the example. This is the assignment. All right. So now the first thing that we're gonna look at is this is a 2-page document. Everything is single line space, is Arial font, font size 12. There is no emphasis. This is a plain text document. Now, this is something that you might actually receive depending on if you're working with someone and you're pulling from another platform. This is what you might end up with. So now we want to format this. We want this to look better. So this is what like maybe a handout that you're going to hand out at an upcoming conference. So we're going to look at the title, and we're going to figure out different ways that we can format this so that this will look better. So again, we are going to do this 2 different ways. So the way that when I first started teaching, we would copy this because this was the heading, and we would say this is going to be bold. This is going to maybe be size 16. And then scooting a little bit further over, we didn't get here yet, but now we're going to look at the alignment. The alignment is going to show you the alignment of the text and how it's aligned from the margin, whether it's the left or the right margin. So we have 4 different alignments. We got left, we have centered, we have right, and we have justified. So I'm going to show you how each one, this is automatically on left. We're going to look at it from right. Justified, you're not going to be able to see here, but I will show you in the next part. So we're going to make this centered. Right? So if this is what you want, you can also say, you know what, I want it to be a little bit bigger, select it, and you're able to now increase that. Now we can press enter if we wanted to. And so one thing that you're going to notice is that we have this extra wide space. Anytime that your cursor is at a line and you press enter, it's going to take the size of the line that you have just moved from. So if you don't want it to be 18, you're going to backspace, or you can just undo. And then you want to go to the start of the next paragraph and just press enter. So that's like something to also think about. I have students that will do it from here, and then it ends up being larger. And because I can visually tell the difference, they would get a little bit upset. So now we have our paragraph. So this is the first paragraph, and we know because the text stops like early, closer to the left margin, and then the next one we have text right there. Give me 1 second. All right. So remember I said I want to show you justified. So I have this paragraph selected. I'm going to go back to my alignment, and I'm going to choose justified. So justified, like I said, is going to be even from your left margin to your right margin. Left, right, and it's going to be even. So this is how this will look. This looks more like textbook-like. And then this is like, it's going to continue to the next line. And, it's going to, determine, the software is going to determine without putting up, remember that we used to see the dash? Somebody would put like ESS dash, and then the next line will have the rest of the word, right? We're not going to have that, okay? So we can just press enter. What is this here? Sunshine vitamin. Sounds like this might be the name of another section because you see it a few more times. So that might be what we call like a subheading. So you can select that. And subheadings are typically bold. And they might be one size increased. So maybe 14. And so now you have to decipher, where does this paragraph end? You press enter, right? You can choose if you want to press enter here. That's up to you. It's all about, what you deem to be professional and what you deem as quality. Not quality, but, does it look good to you? Because this is what you're creating. So mental health is our other subheading. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to bold that. Same thing. This one only has one paragraph. Okay. And I think we have, is there one more? Yes, biodiversity. Okay. So back in the day, this is what I would have my students do, right? For them to practice. So we just practiced regular line spacing. We have practiced applying fonts, styles, not styles, emphasis. So we have added bold. We have changed the alignment. We have looked at the font size, right? This is not wrong. However, there's a little bit more effective way that we can do this. So this is one way that we can do it. And so I'm going to go back to our original document. I'm going to make another copy. So remember, file, make a copy. And so here I'm going to say copy to. Okay. All right. So now here is our title again. This time we're going to look at where right now it says normal text. Well, now we're going to look at this section. So here we have our styles. So when you are applying styles, you are basically going to, on the left-hand side, when you see these document tabs, when you are building a document, especially think about 30, 50-page documents, and you're trying to navigate to different parts of the document. Having it organized with the tabs and with the headings is going to be so critical and so helpful in you being able to do the work that you need to get done. So we have title, we have subtitle, we have heading 1, we have heading 2, 3, and then you have options. Today we're going to just look at title and heading 2 because we don't really have anything for like heading 1. So again, my title of my document is, and I'm going to choose title. And the one thing I want you to pay attention to is when you click on the benefits of the sun, you're going to see that the style has changed to title. And when you put your cursor somewhere else, it says normal text. So that's how you know. Now, title still has it left aligned. You can change the alignment of that. It does not mess up the fact that it is a title style. You will also now notice on the left-hand side, it does have this now, it looks like a hyperlink. Well, this hyperlink is going to tell you that we are the link of the title of this document. So again, we want to add line spacing, or we can say, you know what? We can change, let's change all of this. So I'm going to select this whole document, go to format, and let's just change this to 1.15. It just gives it a little bit of space, right? Everything just looks so jumbled and up on top of each other. All right, so now we got just a little bit more space. So now same thing, you want to press enter. So now here we have this new heading. So this is not a heading, this is the subheading. And so selecting that, going back to styles, now we're going to apply heading 2. Now heading 2 changes a lot. Now we have all this extra line spacing, and you're like, what the heck is that? Why does it look like that? Don't worry, we can definitely fix this. So your heading is there, and then you would notice that it is still starting to build. So we're gonna apply. So I'm gonna have us to apply, and then we're gonna modify, right? So you get all experience with this. So you notice how it basically forces this document to end up being on 2 pages before it needed to, right? So going back and looking at on the left-hand side, when we're looking, now when we click, it's going to take you to that place in that document. And I want you to envision this being a document with 30 and 50 pages, and how easy and simple that is going to be for anyone that's working on your team, right? So you can also remove it from the outline, because this is also your outline. So you can remove these from your outline, but we don't want to do that. What we do want to do is figure out how to get rid of all of this extra space. Because as of right now, of just applying that style, it has given us a lot more space, more than we possibly want. So we're going to select it, and then you can go and you can change the line spacing. And so I'm going to show you another easy way to get there without having to go to format. When you go to right next to your paragraph your paragraph alignments, you're going to click on the line and paragraph spacing. So this also keeps this. So we are going to, let's just go to custom spacing. So custom spacing, look at this, 18 point spaces before. That is insane. Okay, so you can change that and you can modify that. So now you can do that, or I'm gonna show you another easy way that you can do. And this one is gonna come up a little bit more. So a lot of these things you're gonna see a lot more. Formatting, you're gonna see often. But this little trick here, so I have this selected. I see this little paintbrush. If you see the paintbrush, it should be on the left-hand side of your toolbar, and you should see a little paintbrush. So now you should notice that your cursor has changed, and now it looks like a paintbrush. So I'm going to go to the next heading, and I'm going to select that. And it is going to apply the same formatting that I have, but it didn't change my line spacing. Okay. See, that's the good part, because a lot of times we see in Microsoft when we do, so that's also something for you to note. If you use this is called the format painter. In Microsoft Word, when you were to select that and you were to apply it, it's going to also apply the line spacing. So it's just not only applying the format, like the text and the font, it's going to also change the line spacing. But every software is not 100% identical. But if we did wanted to make this bold, and we wanted to do that to the next one, hold on. Right, so this one is bold. All right. So let's change the line spacing of these last ones. Let's just go to spacing, custom, and just change everything to spacing before 6 points. So this is given still 2 pages, but a lot more space. So this I feel like would be easier to read. And then when we're looking at the other option that we had, very similar, right? Not wrong, but if you're working on a document and it has like 30, 40 pages and they all have headings and subheadings, and you can't figure that out, like you have to scroll through or you have to keep searching, that is what's going to make your life a lot harder. So that's the reason why I wanted to show you both ways. So you can just do it just by using the bold, italic, underline, change the font size, change the line spacing, change the alignment. You can just do that, or you can apply for your headings. Now, the other thing that you can do is say, I want to update title to match. So when you say I want to update that, you can say I want it to match this, right? So now you notice that your title has changed. The title before was much larger. It did not look like this. So you have updated that. So if I was to go back, and now it shows the original way that it was set up. And this is what title had looked like, right? So you can always customize it. You can change it to what you want it to be, and then you can say, I want it to match this. Okay. So that's basically what formatting is. And again, you can always play around just to kind of see how much spacing you want. Do you want all the spacing? Do you need all the spacing? It all depends on the type of document that you are working with. Okay. All right. So in the last couple of minutes, we're going to go back to the presentation. Okay. So we looked at the headings. We looked at applying applying a format. And then, oh, I didn't show you hyperlink. So when we go back, I will show you how to hyperlink. And that can put either relevant resources that are, whether it is in the document, like you're not referencing someplace in the document, you are referencing another documentation, at least as long as the person has access to it, they will be able to click there. It will link them to also to resumes, it's not resumes, to websites. So you're going to be able to use as many resources as possible that you're going to allow yourself. And I will continue to show you where the version history is at, so you can track and change and restore any previous edits that has happened. Sorry. All right. So the other thing that we're going to look at is the collaborative tools that you're able to use. The collaborative tools that you're able to use on in your documents. So the good part, like I said, as long as you and your coworker, whether you're sitting next to each other or you are in different parts of the world, you two will be able to work within this document as long as you have the correct access to this document. So I think we had looked at this last week, but this is why we're focusing in more now. So you always want to make sure that you're given the right access to the right people. Everyone doesn't need access to edit your document. So you can just say, I just want you to view this. I only want you to read this, nothing more. I don't want you to add anything. Just read it. So you are going to receive a document, and it's going to give you a viewer access. If you want someone to give you some feedback, that means that they're going to be able to leave you comments. A comment person, I'm going to show you where you're going to be able to comment on that document. Then you can also grant someone to be an editor, and that will allow them direct access to make changes to that document. Again, this is going to give you real-time edits, especially while everyone is on the internet. So we're going to look at the comments, the suggestion modes, and so, things like that to improve your collaboration. Okay, let's go back. Right, so give me 1 second. So what I'm trying to do is create a document in another account so that I can share it. And you can see when I say I'm only going to be able to give, I'm only going to be able to look at it from a view only. So I'm just going to be a viewer. Right. All right. So when I open this document, right, you notice there's not much that I can do. Right. So I can't do anything. All I can do is view. And then the other thing is you're gonna see is request edit access. That's how you will also know, like, okay, I can't do anything to this document. Let me let Tanisha know and she can send me the correct document with the correct access. Now, when you get this document, you're gonna receive the first document, which is going to be read only, right? So you're gonna have to make a copy of that. And then once you have that, then you're going to be able to go into that document and say, okay, I want to, you know, make copies. I mean, make comments. So now when you click here, you're going to notice, I'm not even clicking, I'm just putting my cursor there. You're going to see a little plus sign, like a little arrow, not an arrow, like a little quote thing. That's your comments. You can add emojis and then you can suggest edits. Okay. So if you wanted to say, you know what, um, make this bold, right? So all it's going to do is highlight, and that's how someone would know that someone has written a comment somewhere on the document. So let's say we wanted this, right? Should add a reference. Right? So you're going to be able to see the recommendations. All right. So let's say this, but let's say you want to say suggest edits. So when you click on suggest edits, it is going to give you it's in suggestion mode. And then you're going to be able to, it's not giving us any suggestions. Okay. All right. So here now, any edits that you make is going to become suggestions. So you can say, okay. So I can say that, and then I could say maybe cross this out, format. Remember, you go to text and you can say, I want to strike this out. Right. So I want to strike that out, but I want to add that. So it's going to show you. So you're giving the feedback as to this is what you want, and then they can figure out if they want to accept this or not. Right. So if we keep that crossed out, it's going to accept it, and then if we say accept, it's going to keep that, and it's no longer going to be green. Right. And then if you decide, you know what, now that we have decided, we can now remove that. It's still, now it's going to say we deleted that. So if we just want it, we didn't have to strike it out. Let's go back. Okay. So now we're going to just want to delete this. All right. So we want to delete that. We're going to replace that with SAD stands for blah. So now our suggestion, we're going to just click on, and now that's going to all change. So it really depends. Let's do another one. So it's like sunlight is also beneficial for skin conditions. All right, so we know that we're still in suggested I suggested edits. So right, so we wanted to add that, and then we wanted to get rid of this. We can just delete that. Now it's going to stay there. It's going to look like this until the team reviews this. Now, whoever decides, everyone is going to be able to see that eventually, right? So remember, the one good thing about Google is that we can always look at histories. Okay. So if we wanted to take this off and just go back to editing, right? We can just go back to editing. Comments are still going to be there. Um, the comments are going to continue to be there. The comments will go away either if someone was the whoever, if you were the person, you can just click on it and it will just mark as resolved, and it will no longer appear into your conversations. All right. The other thing is that we can tag people. So if I was working on this, and let's say I wanted to, if you were in one of my business, I'm gonna tag myself as if there was someone else, and then you would write the comment to someone. Now you can assign it to this person, but because you at the person, that person is already going to receive it. But I always like to just assign it, and this way they're going to be notified, and they're going to be responsible for telling us if it is marked done or not. So that is how we're going to be able to communicate with your colleagues, right? So if there's something that it's really one person's, it needs to come to one person's attention, you tag them, you assign it to them so that they will see it, and then everyone else will just see the rest of the history. So this is how we really work on improving the collaborative point of it. So it's not just formatting the document to make it look good. That's a major part of it. But it's actually more to it. This collaborative part is what the selling point is. So again, we're going to make it bold. And once we make it bold, we can just mark it as it being done. Right? Okay. So the other thing that I want to look at is, let's look at the version history. So when we go to file and we go to version history, you want to see the history of this document, right? So you're able to see, you see like a little drop down, you're going to be able to see, all right, what did Tanisha do? And it's going to show you timestamp of everything that Tanisha did in that document at that time. You can name that version. So when did I really start making changes? Right? So this was, let's call this the beginning. So this was the document at the very beginning. Nothing, we had single line space, and then you're able to see the changes that happened along the way. So when people say, I didn't do that, are you sure? You sure? We can definitely see when and what time you did it, right? So that is a good thing to have, right? And then when you have them listed, then you're also able to see, you name the version, that's what you're able to see. So that's actually a really cool thing that you can do, right? So again, if you ever want to see the history of a document, go to File, go to Version, History. And then you're able to see every step along the way of what happened in that particular document, right? So honestly, I feel like that is one of the key game changers. So when we're going back, we're looking at the collaborative features, we're looking at everything that we're able to do. We're able to make comments, suggestions directly. And if that person doesn't like your suggestion, they can give you feedback, or they can accept it and then just continue going. So like, it doesn't have to now be another email. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to start looking at it from a standpoint of, this is how we're going to be more productive. And the more that you're using these features in these software apps, that is going to help you to be the most productive person that you need to be, right? The users can easily email from the document. So you saw how we was able to tag the person. So again, that's going to make that quick and seamless. Great communication. They're going to be clear as to who you were talking to, right? You know exactly. No, this task is for Tanisha. No, this is for Henry. No, this is for Lisa, right? You're able to really ensure everyone is clear, and they're going to receive an email, and then now they have added in Google Chat, you will also receive an update from your Google Drive in there as well. So they're really enhancing how you're going to receive this information so that you can stay fully informed throughout this entire process, right? So that real-time collaboration, excellent work. Okay. So one thing I want you to work on is, I want you to start working on like one-page activities. I want you to start working on a document that you might need, right? The next thing I'm going to show you real quick, you can play around more with this after class and until next week, is we're going to look at templates. So if you if you don't really know what kind of document you need to create or you want to create, this is where you're going to be able to go into Google and say, hey, Google, I need a new document, but can we look at some of the templates? So templates exists in almost every platform, every software platform. Microsoft Word has their own templates. If you go into Canva, that's where I'm doing the presentation. Canva has different templates. So you're always going to be able to see an example of what you're looking for. So if you are working on a memo, you are working on a contact list, you're looking for maybe a content calendar, things that we didn't even have back in the day. We didn't have no content calendars, event planner, FAQs, journal. You have actual templates that you're going to be able to say, this is what I need. And I'll have at least a guide to show me what this looks like and what this needs to look like. So I'm going to take you to the memo template. And they're going to show you, this is how memos look. Now, some of you may have never seen a memo, and then some of you might have. And so we're going to be able to say, and now I don't have to recreate and try to figure that out. Okay. So we have our memo, we are zoomed in, and now you can just go ahead and start typing in and filling in. And the cool part, you notice here, now we're able to actually put people. So I'm going to put myself as the person from, and then put the name like this. Look, when I say to you, this is definitely a game changer. Like they make all of this so easy for us. Right? And so here you add your subject, and it tells you add a concise, compelling subject. Add some highlights, they format it for you, right? You can put your name here, there's your title, things of that nature. This is a very nice template that you can utilize so that you can send out this document. Okay, so you can work from a template, or you can just work from an actual document that someone sent you, or one that you are starting yourself. All right, so I want us to, we looked at that. So I want to really talk about the career relevance. So like I said, that's the part that I think is very helpful with this class, is that now you start to see when you're looking at certain terminologies, how they, what software are they really looking for. And so the importance of mastering this is going to help your professional growth. And so when you're looking at job descriptions, you're probably seeing terms like preparing and editing written correspondence. So those annual reports, those memos, email drafts, those are the written correspondence that they're referring to. So even though they might be electronic, they are still now written correspondence. Formatting your reports. Okay. Again, I can only show you what they have, but there's a lot more that they can do. So you will have to really look at past examples, and some places might already have a template and they're going to share that with you of the one that they prefer to use anyway. And then you just have to move forward from there. All right. And then once you're familiar, so they'll say, be familiar with Google Workspace or Microsoft Office Suite. Those are typically the two that they're looking for. So this is what they're looking for you to have. And then they also would say they will use terms like real-time collaboration, boost teamwork, productivity. Those are the talking points I want you to highlight. So even if you don't have a lot of experience, you do have experience. You have experience utilizing, Google Workspace to collaborate with your team, with your teammates to on real-time projects, and ensuring, and based on that, your team was able to complete the project 2 weeks in advance. Right? When you have that level of collaboration, you're reducing the number of times that you're meeting. You're able to see clearly what is for you, and who has completed, who has not completed, what is for them. And this is going to boost the teamwork, which is going to eventually boost the productivity. Anytime that we can finish something, whether it's 1 day before or even 2 weeks before, that means that we have more time for quality assurance, or we have just more time to now work on something else. And now, companies, they look at, again, we said last week, KPIs. These are going to be aspects that's going to influence those KPIs. So that's how all of learning all of this, and this is being beneficial. This is what this is the purpose of it. All right. So I want you to, like I said, work on creating a document that you need. And I want you to use at least 3 of the different functions that I showed you today. And you can share that with me. So I will also type that out into the email that will go out after this meeting, and you'll be able to get that. But I want you to be able to share, create one document. If you need a new cover letter, find a job that you're interested in, create a cover letter and format it using either a template or just creating it, and share that with me so that I can give you feedback on that. All right. So I thank you. And as always, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions. This recording will be available to all members by within 24 hours of this session being recorded. So you have an amazing day, and I will see you next week. And next week, we're going to go over Google Sheets.